All right, all right. Here we are yet again. Gosh, how many weeks have we, or how many months have we been doing these? Have we been doing them for 3 months?
It's been about that. It's going to be a whole year.
Wow.
It's going to
You
be
know,
a
I tell you something, and I keep saying this with every video, but it's true. Here we are, halfway point of 2020, and what I thought would be an extremely slow year has been the opposite. It's going so fast, even though technically we were supposed to be sheltering in place and all these restrictions, which you would think would
yeah.
make things feel slower. Like on any given day, honestly, I don't even know like what day is it. You
Yeah.
know, it's just absolutely crazy. So a lot going on. We talked a little bit prior to this video where we talked about multiple offers are starting to surge again. You saw one example where there's like 15 offers on the place. You confirmed to me what I had predicted, which is there's not going to be a lot of drop in prices, is exactly what you're saying now, that you're not seeing prices drop really. Are there any areas that are dropping in price, maybe like way out there?
Not that I've seen so far. I mean, I think it's also too the better homes are always going to get the most action, and that's just the way it is. So if one
Yeah,
house in a certain market over another house shows better, has better photos, has it's it's presented better, and it's going to get the most action. But yeah, 15. Also, I called a listing yesterday. 15 offers on the property.
that's
At
crazy.
pre-COVID, and I was just like, wow, okay. Because I started seeing it like maybe two or three or four offers like a couple weeks ago, but 15 offers. So that's because it's low inventory. There isn't a lot of stuff happening. So now I noticed people are starting to really bid up. When it
Do
was
we
kind of,
see inventory changing at all? Do you see that happening? Like,
it's,
are builders going to start to build? And
I don't know. I've seen that uptick in like say San Francisco, or
yeah,
that there's been more inventory, but it's still, it's still not a lot. Maybe
they're
in this
still anemic.
and someone's looking at a certain neighborhood at a certain price point. I mean, maybe it's yet
Yeah.
to be spread out through all the different price ranges, but I don't know. It's still not a lot out there.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm seeing too, and it does. You're right. It feels like pre-COVID or BC, I call it before COVID. It just feels like here we go again. Which we talked about this too, and my prediction was that we would see more of a V recovery in real estate, not so much the economy, but in real estate. And here we are. I mean, rates are at all-time lows. I mean, I'm seeing a boom. I mean, this is what I'm seeing. I mean, to the point where it's even hard to get appraisers to go out because they're so booked. They're packed. Their schedules are just jam packed.
Like 3 weeks into like I had a
Yeah.
3 week appraisal. Just it took 3 weeks for an appraiser to get onto the property. But I have a question for you. So I've been asked this a couple times the past week, and since you are the mortgage guru, so a client of mine asked me the other day. She said, I have her rate is about in the 4% range. And she goes, I have a 30-year fixed rate, and I'm about 15 years into it. And she said, does it make sense to refinance? Um, and I'll give you a couple other notes. So she's 30 years in. She has 30-year loan, 15 years in at a 4% rate. And she said, all she does is work. She goes, all I do is work to pay my mortgage. So what would you say to someone in that situation?
Look, I'm a big believer that there's two buckets of money. There's other people's, and then there's your money. Now, if we're talking about yourself, you want to keep as much money into your bucket as possible. Now, that said, so if you're in 4% or greater loan, and I can save you, like I'm saving a client right now, $600 a month, for example. What's the opportunity cost of that money? Forget about the fact that you're 15 years into it. I get that that's important because you've put 15 years, but you've also put 15 years into getting the tax deduction, which is one benefit. You've also gotten 15 years of appreciation called equity into the property. So you're already winning. Okay. And so some people would say, well, why would you restart again? Why not just get a 15-year mortgage and get an even better rate? Because you lose payment flexibility. So let's just say I can get you an even better rate on a new 15, but you're going to be making twice the payment. And by the way, if something happens, and we've all seen that everything's changed in 2020, I mean, the world fell off a cliff.
Mhm.
If you're stuck with that big payment, you're stuck with it. I'd rather have this situation where you get a new 30. Now, it also depends on how long the the person's going to keep the property to, and what are they going to do with it. Because, for example, if they say to you, well, look, I'm probably going to keep it another 2 years, right? Because I'm going to sell it then, and then I'm going to buy something else, then maybe refinancing and paying the closing cost maybe doesn't make that much sense, right? Especially because you're 15 years into it. But if you say to me, look, my goal is I'm going to keep the property forever because I'm going to rent it out, but I'm going to take money out of it and go buy something else, that's a totally different strategy. But remember, every dollar there's an opportunity cost. Much like us, we can't be in two places at the same time. Your money can't be in two places at the same time either. So let's go back to this example of this client. I'm saving you $600 a month. What could you do with $600 a month? Number one, you can start maybe an IRA, right? That IRA that you don't have. Two, you can pay down or pay off bills because we all know that debt is the enemy of wealth
Right.
building.
There's a
That's
lot of people that have credit card debt for sure.
there's the amount of debt that's out there is humongous. Now, here's what's also humongous. We have $1.6 trillion of equity right now. Most people are used to talking about ROI, right? Return on investment, but nobody talks about ROE, return on equity. What do you do with that? It's just sitting there. It's like having cash in the freezer.
Right.
So my conversation would be more at large. What could we do? What could you do with $600 a month extra, right? Maybe it's not working yourself to death either. Let's get everything paid off, give you more flexibility to start to travel a little bit more, spend more time with your family, because that's the other side of this coin that has nothing to do with money. It's quality of life. So where are you at in the continuum of quality of life and money, right? Where are you at? Most people are out of whack. But if you have all that equity, 15 years into this, and you have a 15-year mortgage that's not serving you well, and we can re-engineer it for a bigger picture,
Yep.
then I would say in that situation, it's it's a great time to refinance into a 30-year. And if you want to pay extra money towards principal, like your bonuses, to make a 30 into a 15, you could do that too. But you don't have to. So if something happens and you can't afford, a 15-year type of payment, then at least you have the flexibility to make the 30, right? You don't have to keep paying bonuses. What happens if your company chops hours? We don't know where all this is going, right? There's a big question mark in the sky.
Yep.
So we have to play defense. We have to be defensive here. Well, and offensive to a certain extent. Right now, planning is more important than ever. Now, I'm asking more quality of life and goal-oriented questions than it is just about saving you money or what kind of loan would you like. Because here's the truth: most people, they refinance every 7 years. It used to be 5. Now it's every 7 years. People refinance, so they don't keep 30-year mortgages. Now the banks make the most amount of money off of 30s,
Well, the rates have been so high. So yeah, I mean,
right?
so just so whoever's listening, if this speaks to you, there's a couple people that have told me the reasons why refinancing makes sense for them. Say, for instance, one person I spoke to said, I always struggled, the escrow, the tax account wasn't, and the monthly payment. So every, you know,
6 months for property taxes.
month, it was really hard to come up with that payment. So it was really kind of scraping all that money to come up with that payment. It was really stressful. And
Yeah,
then, being able to refinance gives the opportunity to kind of use the extra savings towards that tax money. So then you have, you could relax on it. You could feel like there's a breathing room. If you have a large car payment, if you have lots of credit card bills that, or just amount that like an extra few $100s or a couple $100s could just go towards that to chop that down. Whatever gives you more freedom faster. So I mean, those are some real life situations that people are talking to me about, and maybe this is speaking to you, whoever's listening, and to talk about strategy. So, Ed, before
exactly
this
right.
video started, Ed said it all depends on what someone's situation is, what your goals are, and you kind of touched about whether you kind of keep it long term or sell it in a couple of years. Those are two different strategies. Also, you can make additional payments, with your savings if you can make another payment or two a year because you have extra money, then that will definitely bring your 30-year loan down. It'll cut it down a few years if you keep that consistently every year.
Yeah, you can always have that flexibility. And one thing I want to overlay here is look at your mortgage as a financial planning tool. Don't look at it so much as debt, because remember, there's different types of debt. An auto payment, for example, is not tied to an asset. That's a depreciable thing. The car's going down in value. The opposite is true of real estate. So that's what I call more of intelligent debt. You're leveraging off an asset that's going up in value. You treat
Mm-hmm.
it differently. You treat it more as a financial planning tool. And this is where my background in the past of being a financial advisor really kicks in, because my advice is find a loan officer who is more advice based as opposed to being a commodity who's just there to give you a loan. And
Mm-hmm.
how do you know? By the questions that they ask you. Are they more goal and long-term driven than they are just about the moment of getting the commodity called the mortgage? That's
Mm-hmm.
really, really important, because everybody, it's like shoe sizes, right? Everybody's got a different shoe size. Therefore, everybody has a different financial situation. So to cater the financing to that and the strategy is so key with your realtor and also your mortgage person, because we all work, and that's another piece, right? Make sure that everybody's working as a team for you, that you have a team of individuals that, even though they're in separate industries, that they all work together for your benefit, especially medium and long term.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, so if someone has a questions and maybe they don't really have a strong relationship with a lender and they have a mortgage statement, they can send it to you, right, Ed? And you could straight.
Absolutely. I highly encourage that you do, because I think you're going to be surprised by our discovery and meaning our initial consultation in our chat, how these questions that I'm going to ask you are going to uncover maybe a lot of areas that we maybe need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, we all need to, right? We all have made financial mistakes. We all need guidance. That's super, super important. And it starts with you sending me that mortgage statement. Once you send it to me, then I can look at the value of your property, where you're at as far as balance of your mortgage, what the interest rate is, how long you've paid into it, and then develop a strategy along with you, getting your input of what your goals are and where you want to go with this. And then we come up with some solid strategy that's going to work for you.
Absolutely. So Ed is your mortgage guy, and I specialize in real estate, sales, purchases, listings, investments, flips, you
Yeah, and
name
you're always, I mean, look, how much advice do you give your clients? I mean, you're always giving, what's the purpose of buying this property? How long do you think you're going to
it.
keep it? See,
Always,
these
I
kind of
always
questions
yeah.
are more advice based than just them you selling them a house, for example, or selling their house. Very, very important. That again, I want to stress the importance of teams. So critical that you get people who are more relational and more advice based than transaction based. How do people get a hold of you, Fatima?
So my cell phone is 415-756-4418. You can call or text, whatever is easiest for you. And
Yeah, same
yourself?
thing for me. Yeah, it's call or text me. Text is usually better. And that number is 415-368-1149. So you heard it here first. Thank you again for your great insight. And I love the weather you got going on back there with your pine trees.
Getting more tanned every day.
Yeah, it's getting hot, but it's beautiful out. Well, thank you again. All
Thank
right, everybody, reach out to us. We don't bite. We're here to give good advice. Take care.